Hi,
Hi, can
nice
you
to
hear me
see
okay?
you. Yeah, hi.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much for taking your time to talk to me today.
Sure, you're welcome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Well, let's just get started.
Okay.
This is Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. Thank you everyone for listening and tuning in.
Wait. Before you start, you said it was only audio, so I just want to check on that.
Well, the funny thing about that is nothing funny, but I started to do only audio, but I'm dabbling in video too. So if some of the video clips are actually really nice, I was actually just thinking of uploading these too. So I'm starting to dabble, but if you're not 100% comfortable with that, that works too. This is
I do with video 99% of the time,
Oh,
but
perfect.
because you said no video, I didn't put on my earrings, so I'm put them on right now. And
Perfect.
I didn't put on my lipstick, so would you give me a second to do that?
Of course. Take your
Okay,
time.
just a
Let's do
second.
it.
Okay. Oh, and also I didn't put lights on in the room. Um,
Hey, you know what? And this is all just like trial and error for me too, because the only reason I would have that rule is I lived in an apartment for the so many years I was doing the show, and
yeah.
I ended up buying a house, and now I have my own personal studio space now. And so this is the first time I'm actually breaking it in right now, so I'm just as excited just to be here right now.
Okay, good. Well, where's your new house?
It is in Kaiser, Oregon, and it's out like so I used to live in like downtown Salem, like where all the homeless people, all the there's stories where I talk about like the homeless people like trying to break into my house. It was a pretty bad neighborhood.
Wow.
And now I live in a place where it's like out a little bit closer to the countryside and it's like super quiet. I left my tools outside and I
Oh,
woke up and they
good.
were still there.
Oh, good, because you shouldn't have to live with that crap on a day-to-day basis.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And I was like, you know what? It's time to get out, get a change. And I made sure that I have my personal dedicated, space. And especially if I do have people come over, like you can't
Hmm.
see like I have nice couches set up and
Oh,
the
yay.
lights set up and it just looks really nice now. And I'm just so excited for like not
Oh,
just
good.
these video visits now, but it's more like when people come over, like, oh, I love
Yeah.
that now.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Well,
Hooray.
again, thank you guys for joining Down the Rabbit Hole podcast. My name is Luis. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a very, very exciting year. One of the biggest changes so far was I finally got my studio space. So I know a lot of people have been asking, how's the studio space going? Perfect. I am completed. I did what I needed to do. This was from going back from December up until now, and then getting everything ready. I've been posting very minimally. Like I recorded like 4 episodes in September, anticipating a move, and I've been like putting them out slowly. But I think now it's time to crank up the gears, and now I have a space to do it. So we're back. We're here. We're on Ozempic now. That was a big thing. People love that I like admit it, but like I'm on Ozempic now. I was weighing at what like 320 pounds. I'm at 258 right now. Life's great. How are you? Who are you? What's going on? Let's go right into it. I'm just like super excited to just yell at everybody.
Great. Well, you want to ask me anything more specific, or should I
Well,
just come up with stuff?
no. So let's start out. Who are you and what are you about? Because I saw your website and I saw what you're about, and you definitely a website's job is to catch your attention within the first 3 seconds, and you had mine already just with the name alone. Uh, Very, very interesting stuff.
Thank you. Fabulous. Okay, so it's called the Inner Mammal Institute. I'm Loretta Breuning. I was a college professor for 20 years in a different field. And then I started researching the animal brain that we have inherited. It
Mm,
works by releasing happy chemicals to make you go toward rewards, and it releases threat chemicals to motivate you to pull back from a threat. And so this is the operating system that we've inherited all day, every day. It's either releasing good feeling chemicals only when it's the time to move forward,
mm.
and bad feeling chemicals when it's the time to move back. So the problem is, how do you know what's good and what's bad and forward and back is it's wired up when you're young. And so we all have that challenge to face the world through a lens built when we're young.
What made you go into this field? You said you did something different. What did you used to do, and
Yeah.
how different is it from now?
You won't believe it, but I really studied about tariffs in the 1970s, if you can believe that. So yeah, so that's why I realized like it's been an issue for a really long time. People just didn't know about it.
Mm,
Um, and I taught international trade, international management, and I had always been interested in psychology. And like most people, I just wanted to be happier. I came from an unhappy family, long story short. And I would read psychology to try to understand how the brain worked. And nothing that I read really made sense for what I observed in the world around me until I started reading about the animal brain. And make a long story short, animals are quite nasty to each other. And nobody admits that, but it's obvious.
yeah, no, nature is pretty scary. I guess it makes sense, but how, especially mammals, so that's one of the biggest things. How are we related then? In not in the sense of like Darwinism, maybe it is Darwinism, but how can we relate back to that? Because I mean, it just feels like that's a long reach.
So here's the thing. We humans have two brains. We have the pink fluffy brain that you see in pictures,
Hmm.
which creates our conscious thoughts and our verbal thoughts. But then underneath that, we have what's called the limbic system, which most people have heard about, like the amygdala, the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, all these little things. Those are exactly the same in mammals. And those are what control our chemicals and our body. So,
Mm,
a simple way to think about it is my human brain is on top. My mammal brain, my mammalian limbic system, is in the middle between my ears, and it sits right on the top of my spine. So it controls my body. And my conscious human brain can only influence my body by trying to influence my mammal brain. And in addition, your conscious human brain is not as smart as you think it is. Mostly, you could say it's rational, but it's really just rationalizing. It's looking for ways to rationalize whatever it is that you feel like doing.
the pink fluffy brain is rationalizing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Um, I guess there's so many things to go through because I'm worried about like I guess I don't want to be cynical about it, but what happens when you don't have that part and you just rely on the mammal brain? Like, can that be dangerous at all to a person?
Well, when you say you don't have it, are you saying you don't have control over it? What do you say?
Like especially
Or
with people
birth
who have
defect?
both. I guess some people with who have really bad case of like either like schizophrenia, things like that where they're uncontrol of their uh,
Okay.
feelings. Yeah.
Okay. So this big human cortex that we have is not wired when we're born. So
Mm,
animals are wired when they're born. So you hear this thing like they can run with a herd the day they're
yes.
born. Elephants can walk the day they're born because that's the only way they could get to their mother's milk is to walk to it.
Hmm.
So animals are born wired. Like a chimpanzee can hold, when the day it's born, it can hold on to its mother as she swings through the trees.
You're right.
Yeah. But humans take like 20 years to grow up. But in the past, it took 7 years because if you got separated from your parents, you would usually die. Now, the warm and fuzzy view is, it takes a village and the whole village raises you, but no, that's not true. Like if a monkey gets separated from its mother, it dies. The other monkeys do not feed it.
Mm,
So, um, our nature is in a hurry to wire us up
mm.
so that if we get separated from our parents, that at least we could find food and water and know when we're in danger. So that takes about 7 years. And that's when the core of your brain is wired.
Hmm.
Now, how is it wired? Not from a blueprint, but from your own experience. So if you do something and it works, then your brain makes a connection, says, wow, that works. If you do something and it doesn't work, your brain says, whoa, don't do that. That's how we
Mm.
get wired.
Um, what made you like find this and find this like your path? It's very specific and it's super fascinating, but what was that moment where you're like, this is what I want to study and this is what I want to be a part of my life now?
Yeah. So maybe you can guess. Like, so I told you that I came from an unhappy home and I had always studied psychology. And I was like, I believed in the social science.
Mm,
But because I was a college professor, I saw a lot of the sort of corruption of the academic world. And I saw that when I did everything according to academic psychology, and it was supposed to make everybody happy, but it did not. Did not make my kids happy, did not make my students happy, did not make me happy. So that's why I kept searching. And when I would read a book about a chimpanzee, and I was like, wow, I started
mm,
with this book called Chimpanzee Politics. And it was about chimpanzees fighting all the time. And the author of that book has now pulled back from that, and he's trying to sell the peace and love view of chimpanzees. And that has made him like a media star. But in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there were a huge number of honest books about chimpanzees fighting. Then I read a book about gorillas fighting, a book about baboons fighting, one animal after another, like even like kangaroos and giraffes. All these animals, they look so sweet, but when you see them, look on YouTube and see them fight, like they bash the hell out of each other. And
mm.
the other thing is, I listen to audiobooks whenever I'm either driving, walking, or doing housework, exercising. So I could go through a lot of books, and that's how I just discovered that all the facts were there, but nobody would admit to them because the warm and fuzzy view is like, oh, animals are so loving and we humans are messed up, but we should go back to nature and then everything would be easy. But it's just false. In nature, there was constant conflict.
So where does nature versus nurture fall into all this, especially like uh for babies, for example? So um that seems very dangerous.
So what do you mean? What's dangerous?
I guess it just seems dangerous, like especially
Oh,
with
to be
with
wired by experience, you mean?
and versus, just kind of having it.
It's scary. And today it's fashionable to think that everything is genes. So I'm like, if I'm in a mommies group,
Hmm.
believe it or not, like this, some of the mommies that I were, around me like 30 years ago, and I still see them, and they think everything is genes because even at their age, like it's too freaked out to think that your kids are wired by their early experience,
Mm.
and you're wired by your early experience. Although it sounds scary, so it's useful to think that there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect childhood. Simple way to think about it is, there's this peace and love view, like if you hug the child all the time, then everything will be perfect. But no, here's a simple way to look at it. If um, if your child refuses to cut their own meat and you cut their meat for them and you tie their shoes for them, then they're going to go into the adult world without confidence in their own skills.
Hmm.
You know, if they try to tie their shoes and then they cry, and then you give them a hug, then the ideal theory is, oh, now I feel better. Now I'm going to do it myself. But it's not true because I tried it and all my friends tried it and my husband tried it. He had kids before I met him. So it doesn't work.
Hmm.
Maybe it works in some kids, but that's because those kids had some realistic consequences in their lives. And I'll just give you another example. I'm walking down the street in my neighborhood, and this dog jumps at me and almost bites me. And the owner pulls it back and gives it a hug. And so animal trainers know that if you hug the dog, that's telling the dog what you just did is good. So then they're going to attack more people. Because that's
Mm.
how the brain works. It learns from rewards. But the warm and fuzzy view says, oh, the dog attacked you because it just needs more love. So I will just hug it
Uh,
and then it will stop attacking people. But it doesn't work. But people are so indoctrinated that they refuse to accept the evidence.
how hard is it for you to push those thoughts and everything to people, especially when they come for your services, already being hardwired to think this way? Because I thought a lot of those things that you just mentioned. Plus, in the last couple of months, I took a parenting class with my wife, and I did to just learn from other parents to how to be parents. I have a 2 year old, like that's my first kid.
So hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so hard.
And then I have a 1 year old, and then I have an 8 month old. So like,
Oh my
I
God, you're kidding. You have three kids
and
under three?
yeah, but and the thing is that the parenting classes were really informative, but it feels like it's coming from somebody who's like only has a single child and who's kind of the perfect child, who only has a couple outbursts here and there. And I'm like, okay, there has to be more here. So if what you're telling me about the hardwiredness at birth, and then we figure it out later, I hear that. I guess I'm trying to relate that to my own struggles because man,
Yes,
kids are
yes.
complicated.
Oh, yes, yes. So, and I just wrote something about toddler tantrums. I think I can give you the link to it. I'm trying to remember where I wrote it. Um, so I have this website I call Make America Sane Again. So I'm gonna um, put that in the okay. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. Make America Sane Again. So toddlers have tantrums. And if you reward the tantrums, they just have more tantrums.
Yes.
So people have oversimplified it because they're afraid that you're going to be cruel and abusive.
That
So,
part.
and hmm?
That part, 100%.
Yeah. And so I grew up in a sort of a cruel and abusive environment. And like a lot of people and like our culture today, I went to the other extreme. And I had an example of this in a coffee shop today. I think most people know this, where you're in a public place and there's a tantruming kid, and the adults just try to please the child, and nothing they do will please the child. And so I was like, how about this? How about this? How about this? And nothing they do will please the child. So you have this whole group of adults that's being controlled by this child just saying no to everything. So that kid has absolute power when they say no to everything. So why wouldn't why would they say, "Oh yes, thank you so much. I'm so grateful for what you're giving me"? No, because the animal brain wants absolute power and you're just giving them the power and they don't have any responsible awareness of the complexities and your need to go to work and your need for sleep and their need for sleep. They're just saying, "Whoa, I got absolute power. This is
Mm.
great." You know? And why wouldn't they want power? Because it's scary to be a kid. And they have all these pressures on them. And all the quote unquote experts are saying, "Oh, poor little child, their life is so hard." And then if you follow this poor little child advice, then finally you get so upset that then once you're upset, then you feel guilty. Oh my God. Then, I'm mean to them. Then you go to the other extreme again of letting them do anything. And then they have tantrums, and then you reward the tantrums. So I
Mm.
didn't know any of this when my kids were little. So I did it the wrong way.
I am more on that side of like definitely learning from my parents' mistakes and kind of like, we definitely don't respond with hitting for everything. So, I mean, breaking that cycle. But even then, like I'm thankful to not have one of those type of tantrums. But when I do see those tantrums do happen in other people, I feel like their first instinct is embarrassment. That's what causes the initial reaction to like, oh, we gotta please the kid. Do you think if we change the embarrassment into like, okay, understanding, it's kind of like the first step because that puts you in fight or flight mode real quick when a kid is crying.
Yes, definitely. But it's not only the embarrassment in a public place, because even when it happens at home, often they're tantruming in public because that's already what they do at home. And
Hmm.
when my kids were young and they cried, I would just, I couldn't try to please them fast enough because I was so nervous about them crying that I would give in to anything, you
Hmm.
know? So that's going to the other extreme. Because I always thought if you say no to a kid and then they cry, then everybody's going to blame me for making them cry. So that means that parental authority goes out the window. And if you are a school teacher and you are standing in front of 30 kids that have no concept of adult authority, it's just chaos. And those kids never learn how to read and do math. And then by age 8, their brain is basically set. And then they face the adult world without adult skills. And that's tragic.
Mm. So if you do see somebody with that who has that type of mentality and they end up seeking your expertise, how do you come into play in that type of person?
Oh, good question. Because yeah, you asked me a minute ago, how does it? Yeah. So I am not having client. I don't, this is not pop. It's just what you think. It's like nobody wants to hear this. So this is not popular with clients because it's so different from what people are used to hearing.
Uh-huh.
And people want to hear confirmation of that warm and fuzzy view. And then when the warm and fuzzy view doesn't work, what do people expect to hear? Number one, it's society's fault. And number two, there's a pill that will fix it. And that's what people want to hear. And so now imagine all these 8-year-old kids. I said, now their brain is being set in the wrong way. They all end up on medication. And then once you're on one medication, you end up on another and another. So it's tragic. And so that's why I'm just speaking to anyone who would listen. So,
No,
and I keep writing books and writing articles and making videos. But yeah, it's not like people want to pay for counseling to hear this. But I am formally retired, so I'm not doing this for money.
I guess that's pretty cool too, because if you were just out for money, it would be pretty difficult, especially when they're not trying to hear it. But it's like you're just putting the information out there, and whoever does listen to you is actually into listening to you. Um, if anything, that's more fulfilling, don't you think? I love that. I think that's perfect. I would love to just get that message out there like that. That's such a cool way to do things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, in order to do that, you have to get old. So that's
Noted. I'm writing it down. And so
so
I saw I looked at briefly right now at the link, and there's a lot of information there. I do like this. And it's just so funny. You came at the right time. I'm like at this place where I'm just like learning about the brain, whether it's like my own brain as a 33-year-old man or to my little baby's brain, and just how that works. It's very fascinating that just what's on your site alone, you know, especially with the problems that your method can help with, like as far as like the anxiety, the parenting, the relationships, careers. I mean, this is a lot of information you're throwing out there, and I like it. I'm digging it.
thank you. By the way, I do so much writing that I sort of forget what's there. But now I'm remembering that what I sent you has a giant picture of a kid having a tantrum.
Oh yeah, that's
So
the first thing that stuck out. I was like, oh, there it is.
yeah, yeah,
That's my kid.
yeah. So now I'm sending you uh, a link to my parenting page. So the current view is that if a child is having a tantrum, it's sort of like if the dog is biting, that it
Mhm.
just needs a hug. And if you hug the kid that's having a tantrum, then it will calm down. And I'm telling you, I tried that and it did not work. I think it just makes them have more tantrums. So, and like I said, the stakes get higher because then as their body gets bigger and their schooling becomes more important, they physiologically have not learned to control the impulse to have a tantrum. So they're trying to study and their brain is exploding with frustration. And just to know that that's not a disorder, that we are all born crying. So we're all born with this urge to explode, and we all have to learn to control it. And it's not cruel or abusive to teach your kid to control it. You don't want to teach them to control it by getting angry at them, but you still have to teach them to control it. So you don't have to expect them. See, this is the thing. It's like, and you get so frustrated, but you can't expect them to control it on a dime. You can't expect them to control it at age 2. And yet you can't ask their permission. It's like, are you willing to stop crying?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's that I've heard that before. Oh, okay. Then also I as far as like the inner mammal method, I saw it and I was like, I love how you laid out it's like a 24 step like diagram of how to go about it. Can you just briefly kind of just go through it with us and explain so like, we understand?
Sure. So this is based on my book called Habits of a Happy Brain. Retrain your brain to boost your dopamine, your serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphin levels. So the idea is that we have these 4 different happy brain chemicals, and they're 4 different feelings, and we want all of them. And they are all in animals, and each happy chemical motivates a different kind of survival behavior. And we need all of them. And you could even say that we're tempted to do crazy things to get them because the animal brain makes it feel like a matter of life and death. But the bottom line is we are not meant to have them all the time. They're only meant to turn on in little spurts. Like if I'm a monkey and I wake up hungry in the morning and I look around for food and I see some food in the distance, when I see the food, I get a little spurt of dopamine and that turns on the reserve tank of energy and I go get the food. But if that feeling of dopamine excitement was on all the time, then I'd be just wasting my energy running after nothing. So it's only for that moment when I see a valuable resource that I can actually get. Okay.
Mm.
And then it turns off. As soon as the monkey gets the food, it turns off. So we all have to be able to manage this. Like, I want this feeling of excitement all the time, but I'm not meant to have it all the time. And if you do unhealthy things to turn it on, then you're going to end up with negative side effects. And then we have threat chemicals when we have negative side effects. And in the world of our ancestors, the threat chemicals turn on when there was a real survival threat. But today, like if you mistreat your body, the same threat chemicals turn on and it feels like a real survival threat. So that's why it's such a challenge to manage this brain we've inherited. Now,
Mm.
3 more brain chemicals, and just to summarize in a simple way, our ancestors had to spend most of their lives looking for food, and they went hungry a lot. But in the modern world, we're suddenly free from that burden. And so um, animals only worried about their social status once they had enough food. But in the modern world, people drive themselves crazy over their social status because the food is coming to them so easily. And
Mm.
that's why they want that good feeling of raising their social status, even though we're not meant to have it all the time. It's only meant to turn on in little bursts.
And I guess the way you said that, it just reminds me of, say, for example, I'm already thinking like that sounds like somebody like that could also play for somebody who's, for example, a womanizer who's like who or a sex addict. That's why does that come into mind? Somebody who's trying to seek that excitement. I talked to somebody in the past
Yeah.
about sex addiction in one of the previous episodes, and this is a very similar path of like those spurts.
Yes, exactly. So every brain has this. So what I said in my book is you could think of 10 examples in 10 seconds. So you use sex addiction as an example, but if you had to think of 10 examples of things you could do that would feel good now, but ruin your life in the long run. So we could all think of 10 examples in 10 seconds, right?
Hmm.
And which one do I do? Which one do you do? Which one does somebody else do? We do whatever we were exposed to when we were young, because our brain learns from rewards. So for the sex addict, let's just say that there was a time when they were young where things were bad in that moment. And then some kind of sexualized opportunity, which is usually when you're young, is something you didn't seek out, but it was just you were exposed to it and felt so good that it distracted you from the bad feeling that was going on in your life. And that's really the core of what the human brain is looking for is take away the bad feeling. And in the state of nature, if anybody watched nature videos and you see a lion hunting for food, the lion misses most of the time. And in the nature videos, the lion goes hungry for a whole week before it catches something. So our brain is like designed for like a lot of disappointment and things go wrong and you're miserable. And then finally, when something works, your brain says, okay, that's it. That's what I got to do. And that builds a huge pathway in your brain. And then that's all you want to do. That's
Is
all you care about.
That's the mammal brain, not the pink side.
Well, this is the problem. Good question. The pink side is now saying, okay, so how can I do what it takes to get these one of these 10 bad things? And you use your intelligence to get bad stuff.
Hmm.
Sort of like if you see, like a cliche example would be that you see in the movies would be like a bank robber who is like spending 6 months planning this complex crime. So they're using their intelligence, or like an alcoholic who's using their intelligence to persuade you that you should go buy them another bottle of vodka and you're really a jerk for resisting.
Mm.
So they're investing their complex verbal learned skills to get the happy chemicals.
Interesting. Okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're throwing out.
Because that's how they got wired when they were little. Now, I keep talking about by the time a kid's 8 years old, their brain is set. But then we have another period of neuroplasticity in adolescence. And so that adds like another layer onto the highways of your brain.
Mm.
Okay. And so the the little habits that we have, if each of us thinks about it, say, oh yeah, I remember how I learned that in my adolescence, but excuse me, it sort of fits onto the platform of the emotional responses you learned when you were a little kid.
Mm. And so um kind of going back to the I call it the roadmap. It looks like a roadmap to me, but
Yeah.
um how long is it to kind of fully actualize everything you're throwing out in one person? If I'm seeking this information, and then like for example, like starting at one, I accept that I have a brain. Easiest one. I think I already did that. I'm already
Well,
on
number
to
one, just tell people it says, except that you have a mammal brain.
oh, mammal brain.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Accept that
Yeah,
I have a mammal
which is
brain.
a not the nonverbal brain, so that the person who says, I don't care about status, I only care about loving humanity, right?
Fair, yes. And so, and I guess go through everything, like, how much of a change is that to kind of fully accept the
Oh,
whole?
good question. Okay. So we cannot change a lot. It's very hard to build new pathways in your brain. I explain it's exactly like learning a foreign language. Almost nobody learns a foreign language in adulthood. But when you're 2 years old, you're learning a language and new words you're seeing with your kids, new words coming every day. And your 3 year old is like having their own thoughts and having conversations with you, even though they were just like an amoeba a short time ago. And now Like I have grandchildren that are telling me how the world works with like 100% confidence and not the slightest bit of humility. You think, Grandma, you don't understand.
And you did all
Everyone,
this research and all this like accolades.
and would not listen to me at all. Um, so, so the bottom line is, we cannot change these neural pathways very easily because of a substance called myelin. So I explain it
Mhm.
in all of my books, and anybody could look it up. But myelin is sort of like the paving, the highway building concrete of the brain. And we only have it when we're young. So that's why we use those highways for life. So, what can we change later on? I explain in all my things. It's sort of like if you're in the jungle and you carve a new trail, and it takes so much work with a machete to go just one step, you have to carve through the jungle. And then the next day, the jungle grows back. But if you pass the same way every day, a trail finally gets established. And it's only a little dirt trail. It's not a nice big paved highway, but it's enough to pass through. And that's what we can do in adulthood. But it takes what I say, it takes about 45 days of you repeating the same thing to build that new trail. And during those 45 days, it probably feels wrong because using the paved highway is what feels right. But if you get yourself to do it by rewarding yourself, then it gets easier.
And so with the beginning of it, accepting that we do have a mammal brain, and the end goal is having power over your brain. Uh, and you put it really, I like the way you put it that I'm just going to read it off your website, but yeah, I love the way you put this. I have power over my brain. I lose that power when I blame my feelings on external forces. I enjoy my power to feel good when I focus on my next step. What does that mean to you now? And what can you what how can you explain that to people? Like that's such a strong quote on itself.
Thank you. Thank you. So we all know that feeling of disappointment. Like I hoped for X and then I got absolute rejection. Now, when that happens, it flows into the neural pathways that I built from the rejections of my youth. So we all know the rejections of our adolescence and our little child years of feeling abandoned and unsafe. And that built the big pathways in the brain. And the electricity in your brain flows like water in a storm. It goes into whatever's the biggest pathways. So now my bad feeling chemicals turn on from like stupid little disappointment. Like the famous example is like everybody else got invited to this party except me, or this person got promoted and I didn't. So all these rejection feelings, they go very deep, but we have the power to say, there is no real crisis. My survival is not threatened. I just turned on that feeling myself with an old neural pathway because in my childhood, I really was vulnerable. And in my adolescence, I was vulnerable. And today, I'm not so vulnerable, but I'm making it feel that way with my old neural pathways. Now, first, I have to add one more thing. Why are we so vulnerable in adolescence? And here's the answer that got me so interested in this topic. Animals care about their mating partner. They don't mate with just anybody. They want the best. And they invest all their energy in trying to get a higher ranking mate. And this is what turns on in adolescence is like this desperate feeling about getting the return of affection.
Hmm.
And then it can't be just anyone. It has to be like someone you perceive as high ranking, you know? And when I discovered that chimpanzees think this way, and then gorillas think this way, and then giraffes think this way, like with each species, like how do they choose the higher ranking members of their species and snub the lower ranking members of their species? And anyone who wants to read the details, I have a reading list on it, innermammalinstitute.org/reading list.
I actually am very curious and I want to see that just because, uh, you know, and not so much anymore now that I'm older, but like we're just like monkeys. Like why was I choosing the girlfriends that I chose for a reason? Why was I choosing my partners the way I did? And then there was one thing that I did, was it I was about to turn 30. I had this weird panic attack. I needed kids. I wanted to have kids. I wanted to get married. I was like, I need this. The pressure is like being in a Hispanic household. My mom's like, you're getting old. And I'm like, I'm not young. In the universe, I'm like super young. So all these pressures happen. And now it just, now that you say it, like there was real, no real threat happening. This was all just me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, your mother's ability to guilt you is a very deep neural pathway, right?
Oh, 100%. We were
Yeah,
working through that one for a
yeah,
while.
exactly. So that's one whole thing. But the other whole thing is social comparison. So again, this is one of the things that really got me into this. Just before I started the book, I got an invitation to a conference, and the topic was mate choice comparison. And it showed that animals, it was actually deer, if you can believe it, these cute, innocent looking deer, before they mate with another deer, they look at who are all the others mating with, and then they want the partner that the other ones have. Can you believe it?
What?
Yes, and you know what? Biologists show that this works for them, that when you go with the higher ranking partner, that you have more surviving copies of your genes. And our conscious pink brain is not trying to have more survival copies of your genes, but your mother is interested in having more surviving copies of her genes, and your grandmother and your great grandmother and your great grandfather, humans, for forever, that's what they were interested in, and that's what animals are interested in. And animals don't know what genes are. And yet, natural selection built a brain that rewards you with a good feeling when you do things that spread your genes. And this is why adolescents are crazy and why our brain is formed from that craziness.
So was I just panicking because I was projecting whatever my parents taught me and like I'm just trying to spread my seed and just keep the lineage going?
Well, not just from your parents, but then what about your peers in high
Mm,
school and junior high? So you see the guy who gets all the girls and you feel whatever word you want to put on it, whether it's jealous, or we have something called mirror neurons where it's saying, wow, he's got it going on. I want to be like him. And if I had what he had, I would be happy. That's how the mammal brain works. And then the verbal brain puts fancy language on it so that it makes it sound better. But it's
mm.
really saying, if I got what he had, I would be happy. Right?
Right, because I did see a deer who I was jealous of, and I tried to be that, especially in my early 20s. I was trying to be the alpha deer, and then somewhere along the line, like that panic attack hit of wanting family, and it was just like, okay, what makes you the prime candidate? Why can't I have you? And now I want this deer and versus this deer. And so it's just so funny, like, wow, what is going on? I'm a mammal this whole time.
Yeah. Step one, right? Now, here's the even crazier thing. Once you get the deer that you think will make you happy, that it lasts for a very short time, and then you want some other deer.
The
And
spurts of
yes, and the reason for this is if you think about our Stone Age ancestors, and they're hungry, and they think they'll be so happy if they find a bunch of food. But in a short time, the food is all used up. So they got to go out and find more. So that's why we inherited this brain design to look for more, look for more, look for more. And it habituates to what all you already have. So if you have a brain that, like your ancestors found a tree full of fruit, if you just say, oh, I'm just going to lay down next to this fruit and be happy forever, then you wouldn't get a water hole and you wouldn't go on a hunt. So your brain is always looking for what you don't have. When I have fruit, I want meat. When I have meat, I want water. When I have water, I want defense against the neighboring tribe that's trying to attack my water hole.
That's exhausting. And when are we ever happy then? Because it just seems like
Exactly. But the point is, if you blame society for this, then you feel like a powerless victim. But if you
Mm,
know that you are creating it, then you can just sort of laugh about it. And a really simple solution, by the way, when I mention this reading list, and especially for people with three children under three, that I have videos to watch it on monkey videos. And you could even watch them with your kids and like get the point while you're watching monkey videos.
I'm really gonna have to do that because my kids love monkeys as is. So I'm like, let's do it. That sounds even more interesting. And but kind of going back to the wanting everything because we're wanting one thing, wanting another. Is it too black and white to say it's good to feel this way? Because if I sit next to a tree eating only bananas, like, but I also want to go for a hunt and get meat, is that okay, or is that too black and white?
Well, I think it's okay because it's reality. So we have no choice but to adapt to it. What makes it seem not okay is like I spent 10 years in yoga classes that were constantly telling you that it was not okay to think whatever you were thinking, you know?
Mm,
So and even like I spent, most of my life in academia where they're constantly saying our society is bad and we shouldn't think this way. And so that causes all this self-rejection. But the bottom line is this is the way we think. So our goal is to manage it. So you have to understand it before you can manage it. So the way I always explain it is like this. If I walk into a coffee shop and I smell that smell of coffee and I'm like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And like you walk into a bakery, it's like, oh, I'm in heaven. I'm going to just quit my job and spend the rest of my life working in this coffee shop, and that will make me happy. But we all know that that will not make you happy because your brain habituates to what you already have.
mm,
So the coffee shop or the chocolate shop or the flower shop does not make you happy forever. But when you're in a bad mood, you could visit a coffee shop or a flower shop or a chocolate shop. So it's a matter of understanding your brain and managing it.
okay. I'm shocked because I don't wow. I guess because as someone who's like, I'm very black and white. I'm very, you have to think this way, and especially that's because that's how we were raised. Um, Having options isn't an option, but if that's how we're wired, it does seem like society's telling us that options shouldn't be an option.
Could you give me an example? I'm not really sure what you're saying.
Like the coffee shop, for example. I'm not gonna. That's crazy. If I just want coffee for the feeling, for the spurt of joy, and then I go work there and stay there, yeah, of course I'm not gonna love it. But that doesn't mean I can't go to a juice shop. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna go get some juice now. But uh, I don't think like society's gonna be like, Luis, hold on. You said you were gonna stick with coffee. You need to stay there. You need to be at that coffee shop because this is what you
Hmm.
chose. Stick with it. Is that too hard? Like a too hard of a line? Like I'm still trying to justify like the not even justify it, but like understand that it's okay to like multiple things, and our brains are wired to like
Oh,
multiple,
okay. Because any one thing, if you only focus on that, you're going to get to not like it.
which is like a
Now,
burnout almost.
yes. So here's the thing. It's a matter of degree. Like I'm not saying that like, oh, if you're bored with your spouse, you should leave your spouse. So
Right.
let's first clarify that. So, but we need to know that once you're dating this person, the first few dates you thought, oh, I'll be happy forever if I can have this person. And then in X amount of time, they don't give you ecstasy every minute. And you have to not blame it on them. You have to know that our brain habituates to what it already has. So you have to find other ways to make yourself happy. Now, here's another example. When I was a college professor, I had tenure. So I frankly hated my job, but then I knew that any other job would be worse. So I stayed there for 20 years until I qualified for retirement. Uh, a tiny, not full retirement, but just tiny retirement, um, because there was a benefit to that. But then while you're making responsible, realistic choices, then you think, okay, but what else can I do to make myself happy while I'm no longer ecstatic about the partner that I have been with for 10 years, and I'm no longer ecstatic about the job I've been in for 20 years, but I can go to a juice shop and I can go to a bakery. But if you go to the bakery every day, then you're not going to like the consequences. So, but what if, you know what, like I have some aromatherapy, like this stuff, like it smells great, and I can smell this thing, it smells so good, and it's like, so you can have a lot of small ways to enjoy yourself. So one of them, I listen to comedy.
Mhm.
So when something, either something bad happens or at the end of the day when you're exhausted and your guard is low and then you think negative about everything, listen to comedy and then you just let go of stuff and then the next day you feel better.
Mm. I think that makes a lot more sense, especially for yeah, the partner thing was a lot more easier to explain because yeah, a lot of people like do think like just because you're bored with your partner, you don't just like oh I'm leaving now like that would be chaos, I think, right? Too much
Yeah.
chaos.
So you could say that's the intelligent part of the brain that's weighing the costs and benefits.
Hmm.
So if your partner was cruel and sadistic, then that would be different costs and benefits.
Yeah. I loved everything you said. What with I guess I'm just so still very intrigued with the path. What when you start from the very start of just like accepting, normally what's a good end game for a person to finally come to realization of everything? What's the end game here?
Okay. So what I suggest is you have a small goal of something that you'd like to change, but don't start with your hardest thing. Make it something small. Like a simple example would be, oh, here's another. People say, I should eat protein at breakfast, something. And then, so do that for every day for 45 days. And then you show you're teaching yourself is like, oh, and then you prove to yourself that you can rewire your brain and make something feel like your new normal. Then you tackle something harder. But let's say, for example, that you have a really bad habit, then break that into smaller parts. So a simple example would be the simple example is a person who smokes and say, okay, step one, I'm not going to have a cigarette when I wake up, and do that for like a few weeks. And instead of having that cigarette, I'm going to listen to comedy for 5 minutes when I wake up. And then I'm not going to for a month, I'm not going to have a cigarette after dinner. And I'm going to listen to comedy for 5 minutes after dinner. So you want to reward yourself for doing something healthy. And this is really important because nobody teaches us about healthy rewards. They tell you, oh, you shouldn't be smoking, you should be doing push ups. But your mammal brain is going to say, smoking versus push ups is like not very attractive. So you have to give yourself an attractive alternative.
Mm, that makes sense. And I started doing something because I heard somewhere that to build new habits it takes a month. And just to rewire our brains, it takes a month. For example, for Lent, I'm not much of a religious man myself, but for Lent, I decided to give up fast food with a
Yeah.
friend of mine. And I said, "Ah, sure, let's do it. No big deal." It was not, it was more for the weight loss, if anything, if there was any.
Yeah.
I had headaches the first week. I went from eating like Big Macs every day. This is my guilty pleasure. I would eat
Mm.
fast food like crazy. And
I missed, what did you give up for Lent?
fast food,
Okay. Okay.
fast food,
Yeah.
and so the first couple of weeks, yeah, the headaches, the fatigue, this sucks. I'm just gonna get a burger. What's one
Well,
burger?
what did you eat instead of the fast food?
Uh, protein, protein. Um, I stuck to protein or veggies. And the veggies I like I'm a sucker for asparagus, I'm a sucker for broccoli, things like that aren't too heavy either. And I was like, oh, this is not bad as of right now. And yeah, I mean, definitely I was on a whole weight loss journey and I do take Ozempic. Yeah, that's a real thing. But even without it, like it's been over coming up on a month or so now, and I'm not sitting here craving a Big Mac no more because of that rewiring. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Uh,
very good. Very good. And you know what? It's really interesting because so in my all of my books, I say 45 days to change a
okay.
habit. And I just said a month, to generalize here, and like people debate like how many days. But you remind me because Lent is 40 days, and that shows that, historically people knew that it took more than 30 days.
Right. Isn't that weird? Like, that's super
Yeah,
fascinating. I don't know. I
yeah.
guess I never put that correlation, that two and two together, but you're right. And especially for a lot of people who, like me, who didn't take it seriously. And like, here I am, like, almost at the butt end of it. And I'm like, oh, I guess I can keep going. I didn't.
Exactly. Exactly. Very good. Very good. Yeah, and especially like those hamburger buns are terrible for you. Really. I mean,
Couldn't tell you. Don't care for them anymore. I mean, like, I'll eat one, but like, I'm not dying anymore. Like I said, the
it's
headaches are
great.
gone. Um, so this has been a great hour. I've loved this talking to you. I do want to, since we're kind of coming to a wrap, this is a free sample, everybody, because I feel like people who do listen, I do want them to go check out your sites and check out your videos. There's so much resources and so much free resources, like to just look into and just, even like you said you're not doing this to make a paycheck, like humor her to do it. Can you just do a quick shameless plug of everything you're doing before we sign off? Because I want everyone to find this information because I'm about to go take my kids and watch some monkey videos.
Great. Thank you. Well, first I have to warn you. So, David Attenborough is the famous voice of these monkey videos, and he has, in recent years, been making the warm and fuzzy view of monkeys where the monkeys cooperate and they're empathetic and all the BS. But his original ones were done in the 70s, 80s, 90s. They're the honest ones. They're the ones that I give you links to. So it's worth, it maybe if you don't have a lot of time to search, what's going to come up first is the warm and fuzzy ones. But hopefully the links that I gave you will work. So, my shameless plug. Okay, innermammalinstitute.org, innermammalinstitute.org. I have a free 5-day happy chemical jumpstart. If you put your email address in the form at the bottom of the page, you get one email a day for 5 days that explains each of the 5 chemicals, 4 happy chemicals and 1 stress chemical. And I have 10 books. I have lots of free videos. I have a podcast and uh, I have a course if you want like really structured help. And I also have, if anybody, I would really appreciate, and also do coaching. You can sign up for coaching. But as I say, if anybody is in a group and you want to bring this to your whole group, I'd love to work with you. And I created a workbook for that purpose, which is self-published. So I can sell it at a really low price to your group. It's called 14 Days to Sustainable Happiness. And I will give you right now the free PDF.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
so if you have like a church group or a parents group or something, and they want to learn about it, and it's written in a way that like, 14-year-old can read it.
And I like that because I always tell people I read when necessary. And these are very important topics to talk about and I didn't realize how much I started caring about them. I guess now that I
Mm.
started having my own kids and learned, like I said, I took parenting classes
Oh,
through one of the Boys and Girls Clubs and it was just a free class, 5-week course that they were offering, and it was just so interesting to see where just where we sit with the brain versus like nature versus nurture and how that coincides with our children. So
Yeah, I didn't really maybe answer that well enough before. You said what about nature versus nurture? Because that's how like popular psychology makes it this dichotomy, but in a way they work together, but in a way like what is nature? They're not honest about what nature is in psychology. They make it sound like nature is like, your genes make you creative or something. But really the kid is just having a tantrum because they're rewarded for having tantrums. That's not genetics or, you know. And then nurture, is like they think nurture is what parents consciously say and do. But no, the kid observes when do you give them carrots, when do you give them sticks, and they mirror whatever you do. And that's what nurture is. But people don't realize that. They think nurture is only what I tell the kid in words.
Mm, that I thank you for circling about back to that. That was gonna I was really thinking about that too, especially with your line of work. It is just always been a big topic and a big point when it comes to especially like conversations of the mind.
Mm. Y también si quieres hacerlo en español, si tienes grupos en español, yo puedo hacerlo.
Amazing. Thank you
Y
so
hay
much.
una víncula con todos los recursos traducidos.
And I'm gonna post all these links too because I feel like you guys should see this, especially, I feel like the Spanish community should learn a lot. I'm big on like our culture learning about these different things. Like if I can get my mom to read this, big win for me, you know? So thank you so much, Professor, for taking the time to talk to me and taking the time to be on the podcast. Again, this was just a quick sample of what you do. I think this is so important. Just the brain, it's how we function. And just thank you so much so we can have these resources.
Well, thank you for the great questions. It was a pleasure and look forward to spreading the word together.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
Bye.
Hello. Please leave a message after the tone.
Bro, what the fuck? You still have my sister for your voicemail? You need to change that shit. Because when somebody calls you for a job opportunity, they're gonna be like, so is it sushi or you're crazy? Bro, this is crazy.
Lois, I literally cannot.
We can't hang up. What's the phone?
¿Dónde estás, Spooky? Llámame.
Hey, sweet cakes, it's me. I was just calling to let you know how much I really do miss you, babe. I've been thinking of you all day, and I hope that you're having a great day, because I know how you told me how much your coworkers are annoying. It's okay, babe, because I know you're gonna get through it. But I really do hope you have a good day, and I was thinking of making you your favorite pasta. What do you think? But babe, I really miss you. Please give me a call when you get the chance. I love you.
You're so cute. You're so cute. Damn, Luis, you just keep giving me challenge after challenge, and you know I'm down. But I'm interested in all the cochinadas que quieres hacerme. I'm like curious about it. What can it be? Well, let's just find out, I guess. All right, I'll talk to you soon.